Hi, welcome to the Life Likes and Landing Pages podcast, also known as the 3Ls podcast. I'm your co-host, Gayle.
And I'm Kim. And today we are doing a little bit of a change of schedule. We planned actually to continue our conversation about how you can create your marketing strategy and the different topics you should include in your marketing strategy. However, Gayle and I, we've talked about this topic a lot that we're going to talk about today, and that is how you can do your marketing through a recession. And even though there's not officially a recession yet, cost of living is like skyrocketed. So
I think we're all starting to feel the pinch, both personally and business at the moment. Yeah, so I think this is a very timely topic because there's no point in talking about a recession once you're in the recession. So you want to be talking about it before it comes. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're kind of going to talk about it a little bit free flow. So it could be there be a second episode. If that's the case, we'll link it in the show notes. If not, we'll also explain it in the show notes. And then you'll probably won't see part one at the title of this video.
Let's just see how we go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Gayle, do you want to kick us off? This is really, I feel like more your topic than it's mine, although we've talked about it together.
Yeah, so this is a topic that I actually feel quite passionate about. I was relatively early in my marketing career when the global financial crisis hit in 2007, 2008. If you haven't guessed, I'm British, so I was in the UK at that time. And it was a shit show, to be honest with the UK got hit really bad. I'm not sure about, I think
really early, I think also.
Yeah. And it lasted for a while. So I saw the impact of what that had on business. I actually was made redundant during that period myself, prior to working in marketing. That's how I ended up going to marketing, kind of. And I guess I can look at it now, look back and kind of go, okay, I see where businesses might have gone wrong. I see where businesses went right, the businesses that survived, where they went right.
Yeah.
And then knowing what I know about marketing after, 15, 16 years of doing this, I've seen it happen, recession or not. If there's hard times in business, marketing suffers. Marketing is the first to go. And that's the worst thing you can do. So it's a topic that is pretty close to my heart. Now, Kim touched on it. You touched on it before. Australia is not officially in a recession at the moment, but it has been predicted that we're in a 1 in 3 chance of entering a recession in 2024. As of June 2023, New Zealand became officially in a recession, and because we're kind of quite closely linked geographically, and there's a close links, or the other close links, business links and whatnot between Australia and NZ, obviously. We can hazard a guess that that's where we're heading, basically. Now, officially, you enter a recession when the economy contracts or has contracted over 2 consecutive quarters. So it's not something that kind of just you wake up and you're in a recession. It is something that kind of starts to happen, and you can see patterns, and I do think we're seeing those patterns. So I just want to caveat all of this before we get started with a disclaimer. Kim and I are not financial experts. We are not making financial predictions. We're simply hypothetically talking about how to navigate a recession, should one happen, with your marketing, so that you can I was going to say recession proof, in inverted commas, your business. But I think just mitigate the risks as best you can. Okay. I don't think there's anything such a thing as recession proof. I think it's just trying to do the best you can at the time.
Yeah. I don't think it's a crazy topic. I don't think it's crazy to prepare yourself in general for an economic downfall, because I think the one in 2008 happened quite abruptly. The one that's happening now is kind of like steadily, like we've been talking about for a while. Like I listened to Bloomberg the other day. They were explaining how it's actually happening slower than they expected. because I don't think America's in a recession yet either.
I'm not sure, no.
But I think it can happen quick. But this one, I think with everything that's happening in the world, like with COVID and like some like major shortages, like it makes only sense that a recession was or is coming.
Yeah. And even though this might be happening slowly, then I didn't know that that was what was being discussed. Even though this might be happening slower than anticipated, I feel like we can get a bit complacent then. We can, oh, you know, it's not happening just yet. Oh, you know, at some point, I feel like we're going to go into recession. And I think the best way to deal with that is to be as prepared as possible. So if it's happening slowly, that is great, because that means that we've got a really good amount of time to start putting some processes in place, and you know, and then it's kind of like you've been forewarned. So if you're not prepared when it does come, then you're going to be at panic stations and scrambling to try and put something together, basically.
Yeah, and I think it's also, when it comes to recession or economy in general, like we like to think of, like you said, like Australia and New Zealand, but at the same time, like as countries or as regions, but the global economy is so intertwined. Like what's happening right now in the Middle East, like has a direct impact on our stock markets and therefore on our economy. So I think in general, even if the recession is not coming, you know, like if it's not happening, I think it's good to be prepared for an
economic down.
Less stable economy for because if it's not happening now, at some point we might get to it again. That
it's cyclical, isn't it?
To have this prepared.
We go round and round. You know, these things happen. It happens in a cyclical nature, so you know it's inevitable. Whenever it is, it's inevitable. So but I just want to make sure that people know we are not financial experts. So so like I say, I got made redundant in the GFC, and I guess I saw firsthand what led to that. At the time I was working in account management, and our business that I was working for at the time relied on a lot of big projects, and it was the big projects that got shut down overnight because you know people couldn't afford them anymore. Therefore it had a knock-on impact on our business. Now when our office got made redundant, we were actually the best performing office in the company, because we dealt with the smaller accounts. So all of the smaller accounts were doing pretty well and they were ticking along nicely. So we were hitting our targets exponentially. But it just so happened that the lease on our building was up, the lease on our office was up. So we were the ones that essentially popped it. So, but I saw, you know, the impact of, like I say, those big projects getting shut down, and it had a pretty devastating impact on the company. So I think talking about what not to do and what to do in a recession, a lot of this is kind of common sense, I feel, and a lot of it is kind of stuff that we should be doing in the day-to-day anyway, but I think it becomes even more important during a recession. And some of it is going to be repetitive, and you're going to be sitting there going, oh, you told me that 2 episodes. Well, I'm going to tell you again because it's important. So if we start with the what to do, during a recession, I don't think it is, or any kind of economic downturn, I don't think it's ever more important at that moment than to understand your audience. You have to understand your audience, and you have to go into that psychographic level of understanding that we've discussed previously. You've got to conduct your market research, really understand your target audience's needs, understand their priorities and how their priorities might have shifted due to this these you know, economic conditions, uncertainties. How are those uncertainties impacting their buying decisions? You've got to understand all of that to a very detailed level. I think more, and we should be doing this again, this is something that we should be doing anyway, but I think it's more important than ever to focus on value of your product, because what you don't want to be doing is getting you don't want to be dropping your prices to kind of try and accommodate and get people through the door, because that's not going to help your business. Especially as all your other costs are rising, the last thing you want to be doing is dropping your prices, because then you've got to work harder to maintain a level of revenue that is sustainable for your business. So rather than dropping your prices, really emphasize the value of your product or services, really communicate clearly how your offer helps solve problems or fulfill essential needs for your clients, so that they can, I guess, envision, if you like, that it's still a worthwhile investment for them in this when they're going through. Go on, sorry.
I think that also works with what you said before about the audience, like that might have shifted.
Yeah.
So where the focus at first was maybe like, I don't know, brand awareness, maybe you need to focus more on leads. Or I'm just spitballing here, but I'm
gonna come to that in a second.
Yeah. Okay.
We're gonna get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think also... you're right though. Yeah, you've really got to understand how those shifts impact your business. 100%. Next thing is cost-effective marketing. So are your marketing strategies cost-effective? Are you reaching your audience without overspending? Are you within your budget? Is your budget optimized? Are you spending too much on one channel that's not getting you enough return, whereas you could be reallocating that budget to another channel and maximizing that channel's potential when that channel is better for you at this moment in time? So really make sure that you really kind of evaluate the way you're spending in your marketing. Customer retention. We know that it is more expensive to acquire a customer than to retain a customer. So if, depending on your business model, if you can retain your customers, if you can get repeat business, then I would be focusing on prioritizing customer retention, offering excellent customer service, loyalty programs, discounts. I know I said don't discount your prices, but discounts to retain existing customers, because they are going to be more valuable to you during a recession than newly acquired customers. Multiple streams of revenue in your business, so diversify your offer. Don't have all of your eggs in one basket, basically. Similarly to that business that I was talking about before, how they relied so heavily on those big projects, and once those big projects got shut down, everything went to shit. Don't have all your eggs in one offer. Try and have a diverse number of offers, and that kind of contradicts things that we've said in the past, although I've said in the past where you should have one clear offer. It's not that you can't, it's not that you should only have one offer as such. It's just that your offers have to be concise and they have to fulfill a very you have to be very clear on the messaging of the offer and the need that it fulfills, and then just create different offers that can do the same thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Is this also like, would your advice be to like look maybe at like lower ticket?
Yeah. Offers? I mean, yeah, that's again, that's another revenue
like instead
stream.
of lowering your prices, like create something that gives,
make yourself more accessible to a wider audience. Yeah, 100%. So low ticket, mid ticket, high ticket. If all you're doing at the moment is high ticket and your high ticket is suffering, then look at what low ticket and mid ticket or low mid entry points you can offer to make yourself more accessible. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, as many revenue streams as you can effectively manage. So don't, at the same time, don't go kind of shoving all of these offers out there and then kind of dropping the ball on this one and not delivering on that one, because that's not going to help either. So as many kind of revenue streams as you can effectively and efficiently manage. Data-driven decisions. It has never been more important to make decisions based on data rather than, let's try this or let's try that. You can't, I think in a recession or any tough time in a business, we bring the emotion into it, and we start making emotionally led decisions, and those decisions are often based on fears or stress, and they're not necessarily the best decisions for the business. It's a panic-stricken decision. And so I think more importantly than ever, when your business is struggling, whether it's due to a recession or not, you have to look at the data, you have to understand the data, and you have to make decisions based on that data and what the data is telling you, not what you want it to tell you. So you've got to be really honest and raw with yourself. I don't like what my data is telling me, but it's telling me this, so I'm going to do that. And it might feel alien, but you've got to trust the data. So I think empathy in your messaging. So we talked a lot about messaging in a previous episode. I think more than ever, empathy, really acknowledging the challenges that your customers are going to be facing, really kind of demonstrating how your products and services can help ease those challenges is going to be really, really important to in as part of your communication strategy. And you said, should you focus on lead gen or should you focus on building your brand? I think brand awareness during a recession, brand awareness should be a very high priority. A very high priority. Okay. Lead generation, of course, but brand awareness is something that a lot of people sleep on. And during a recession, there are going to be, you're going to have competitors that drop off. That is the very unfortunate nature of an economic downturn. There are going to be businesses that don't make it. So you want to be remembered. You want to be the one that is thought of when someone needs what you offer. So kind of if you it's 60% of brand awareness, ramp it up to 70, ramp it up to 80. Start really putting a heavy focus on brand awareness so that when your competitors do sadly drop off, you're the one that takes their market share, if you like. So I think
it is interesting what you said. So in high school I wasn't a great student. I felt learning is very difficult, but I remember my economics teacher, he said something that I'll probably never forget. He said an economic or recession or economic downfall is like survival of the fittest for companies. And one of the ways, and that's like, the whole like Darwin's theory that you have to evolve to become or to stay the fittest out there. And he was saying during an economic downfall, no matter how big or how small a business is, if they can't adapt, then they lose that battle of the fittest and they will, go bankrupt or have to close or have to downsize, whatever it is, depending on how big it was to begin with. But that's kind of what you're saying here.
And that's one of the strategies that we talk about, some strategies to help guide the business through a recession. Adaptability and quick response is definitely one of them. And having that kind of really flexible mindset around, this is what I wanted to do, but bringing it back to the data-driven decisions. This is what I wanted to do, and this is what my heart wants to do, but the data is telling me to. So, and be flexible and make quick, not rash or emotional decisions, but make quick decisions. So if it's not working, don't be so emotionally invested in it that you kind of, oh no, but I really want to see it. No, you've got to move on. You've got to try something else because this right now is not working. It might work next time you try it, but right now it's not suitable. So let's kind of find something that, because if you dig your heels in and you can't be flexible, you can't be adaptable, and you just kind of keep going, no, this is what I want to do, so this is what I'm going to do, you're going to be one of the ones that potentially suffer. So flexibility.
So one of the things we've said in a previous episode, I don't remember which one, was also, like when you're trying a strategy, you have to give it time before you try something new. You say you need to like make quick decision, not rash, quick. So what is your advice there? Like how long should I look at my data falling before I'm like, okay, no, I need to change something?
I think you've got to use your common sense. Like you can't set an ad campaign live, for example, and be like, oh, we haven't had any leads overnight, so shut it down. There's still a bit of common sense that kind of comes into it, I think. But I guess what I'm saying is, yes, ordinarily when you've got time, when things are flourishing, you can test and you can trial and error, and you do have the buffer of, if this doesn't work, we've got this to fall back on. So it is a bit more kind of relaxed and casual.
Yeah.
But if you, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that you've kind of got to look at your data a little bit more carefully, and you've got to make some calls a bit quicker. Now, how quick that is, that I can't say give it 2 weeks instead of 4, because it all is going to be driven by your data. But if you see patterns emerging, don't give those patterns an extra week. Really kind of really kind of make some, you've got to make the early calls. Like if think about the trajectory of where that pattern might take you. Can you afford to go there? So if the answer is no, then maybe you need to make a little tweak here and like now to see what you can do to change that trajectory. So yeah, I think, and that's why I say quick, not rash. Yeah.
Okay. So what is it that we should avoid? Not taking rash decisions? Are there other things?
No knee-jerk reactions. So by that I mean, don't start just. So this is the main thing that I've seen in businesses when they hit a rough patch. They, like I said earlier, they will cut marketing budgets, and I experienced this in my last employment. Now, just to give a bit of context to this company, they thrived during the last economic downturn. Given the nature of their business, they thrived. And then when things started getting better, and in their particular industry, their costs rose, because in the recession, their costs came down. So now their costs are going up. So clients cannot afford to buy. It was property. So clients can't afford to buy property anymore. So there's less people buying property as the property prices rise. They saw a downturn in their business as things got better, and because of their rapid growth, and they've been riding the coattails of this rapid growth, if you like. They hadn't put any systems in place. They had no processes in place. So now they were winging it, and all of our competitors that had not experienced that rapid growth, therefore had the time to put systems and processes in place and strategies and whatnot, they started like overtaking us. And there was a very fixed mindset in that business of, no, this is what we're doing, we're going to stick to it, screw everyone else, this is what we're doing, I know best. They ignored the data, and again, shit hit the fans. The first thing that happened, my director came to me and said, so natural attrition, I lost 2 staff members through natural attrition. And my director came back to me and said, okay, you can only replace one of them, but it's got to be a junior graduate. So instantly we've lost resources. We've lost skills, we've lost resources, we've lost time, because now we have the time to do everything that we're doing, training, all of that kind of stuff. So they drastically cut the marketing budget, and it was a downward spiral from there. It really was.
But that was then after the recession, is that right?
That was after the recession, but it was an economic downturn for them because of within their business. So if your business hits if your business hits a bumpy road, I think the natural response is, what can we cut? What can we cut? What can we cut?
Yeah.
No one ever says, what can we improve?
Yeah.
I can't do the quick math on here, but what if you kind of sat there and went, okay, how can we improve? How can we make incremental changes to improve our conversion rate and take it from 5% to 7%? And just that 2% difference in your conversion rate can ride the coattails. And if I'd have thought on, I would have got some case studies, because there's some fantastic case studies that came out, in times like this, from COVID, when obviously a lot of businesses hit rough patches, where they made little tweaks to their business model, and they didn't have to furlough or fire any staff at all. Even though they did see a huge impact in their business, they managed to retain and pay all their staff just by making little tweaks in their business model. So I think the natural response is, oh, what can I cut? I need to save. But by doing that, you're also cutting your opportunity.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah.
So
I feel, because I know you're also coaching, digital marketing coaching and stuff. I feel like this is where a coach could come in handy, because I also understand if you're a business owner, especially if you're like, you're alone in your business, or you have like maybe a VA or like a small team, it's like small business. It can be super difficult to take that overview, like, step in that higher level and look at the things like, oh yeah, if I can improve this, and see the results. I imagine that this is like, this is a time to invest maybe into a coach who understands, who can help you take that, what is it called, bird eye view, and and see where the improvements are, because I can imagine that's very difficult for
when you're in
a lot
the thick
of business
of it.
owners.
Because
exactly.
You're too emotionally involved, and you're letting emotion drive your decisions rather than the data. And that's why it's so important to know your numbers. If your conversion rate is 3%, right, how can we take it to 5%? Because that, say that 2%, and it could just be like and they're really incremental tweaks as well. It's not anything that's going to break the bank or take too long to implement. It's just but it could make all the difference. So I think avoid knee-jerk reactions, that resist the temptation to drastically cut marketing budgets. I think it's not so much cutting your spend, it's being more strategic with your spend. I think that's what's crucial. So when we talk about increase your brand awareness, cutting your budget could drastically harm your brand visibility and customer engagement. And and it comes down to kind of like, well, who are you topping the top of the bucket up with if you're not being seen? So ignoring customer feedback is another one. I think it's never been more important during these times to really kind of listen to your customer feedback, adapt your strategies accordingly. It's not about, too many people make business about what they want and what they feel. It needs to be about what your customer wants and what your customer feels. More than ever. That should be happening on the daily anyway, but more than ever, you need to be listening to what your customers' concerns and preferences are, because if you're not meeting them or satisfying them, then you're dissatisfying them, and your customers are going to go to someone who will have the opposite impact. So I said, don't drop your prices, don't overprice either. I think it's inevitable that during these kind of economic downturns, people will become more price sensitive. So it's not about overpricing or underpricing. Like I said before, it's about really driving home the value. What is the return? What is the value? What is the potential for the client in what you're offering? What are they getting out of it? Don't neglect your online presence. I think, again, coming back to that brand awareness, it's never been more important to maintain your online presence. Don't go and make risky investments. Now's not the time. High risk marketing ventures, like, don't kind of, look, there would be people out there that would kind of go, that event could make you X amount of money. But if you haven't got the money to be spending $10,000 on a venue in the hope that it might bring you a return, then don't. Find a better way. Find a better way. Keep an eye on your competitors more than ever. Make sure that you're really up to date with your competitor analysis. Understand what their strategies are, so that you can stay competitive. And we've talked about inflexible strategies, so adaptation is really important. That flexibility, that flexible mindset, that willingness and ability to change and pivot as needed is really important. And if you do have staff, check in on your employees, because employee morale is going to be really important. Now, we talk about incremental changes, I bring you back to that business, my previous corporate position. When we started going through a rough time, it was very mismanaged by C-suite level people. And our staff morale tanked.
Yeah.
And, you know, it got to the point where people were like, I remember having a conversation with one of the salespeople because they were talking to another staff member as the phone rang. Pick up the phone. That's a potential sale.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do their job. They weren't interested. It started, you know, people used to stay until 6, 7. It wasn't encouraged, but it kind of was by some people. But, you know, you didn't have to stay till 6 or 7, but people wanted to because they were so fired up and they wanted to. And we loved working there, myself as well. I loved working there when I started there. But then it got to the point where, you know, people were 9:05, leaving at 5 on the dot. They took their lunch and it, you know, they were counting the minutes. Make sure your staff are happy, because happy staff equals serviced customers, and serviced customers are very important during this time as well.
Yeah,
but there's some things what not to do. I don't know, do you have anything to add to that list?
No, I think you covered most of it. I would say, like, from a copywriter perspective, I would also say don't ignore it. The whole situation, like you've talked about, like, you know, write it in value, like use empathy to, like, you know, make that connection. Especially when you're in more like a service driven, or like, you know, products that are a bit more expensive, I think it might be a good idea to create some content around it and do it in a way that brings that value again. So maybe a blog post about, you know, what a recession means for your industry, or like something like that. Because in a situation like that, like, people are confused, they are scared. And one of the reasons why the economy goes down is that there's a lack of trust from the consumers. So one way that you can, you know, even if they don't buy from you, like, that's then my, you know, my idealistic brain speaking, but even if they don't buy from you, if you for some reason can take some of their distrust away because you're sharing your knowledge and your expertise with them, I think in a small way that helps the person that's reading it. And you'll create your brand authority, your thought leadership and everything like that, all those like hip words right now, but it will help you in that situation to address it in a way that is emotionally savvy. So, you know, don't go sensationalize it, don't make it like worse than it is. So emotionally savvy, well-informed. And well-informed, I mean, use good sources. Wikipedia is not a good source.
Daily Mail is not where you should be getting your financial information.
Not a good source. Some random person on YouTube may not be a good source. Like, that depends on their credentials.
Influencer you love on Instagram telling you about a Hermes bag, like, she's probably not financially savvy.
Yeah.
Like, so read into people's agendas, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So if you are, I don't like getting my facts from like YouTube or something. I'd rather go to, you know, I don't know, a bit more written sources. I go for written sources. But if you do go on YouTube, on TikTok, if you go to like these media to find information, just make sure who they are and what their agenda is, because I think the internet's amazing. Like, every single question you ever had in your mind, you can find the answer on. However, is it the right answer or not?
Well, you've got to think about confirmation bias as well. So if you are seeking a particular answer, and we've seen this over the last few years, if you're seeking a particular answer, you will find sources that support that answer.
Yeah.
So
and I would love to do an episode on this. Maybe this is a good bonus topic for this, but it really like aches my bones when the sources that are being taught, being like referenced when it's an important topic. And I think in the economy, politics, religion topic that people, it's always those topics when you realize we are very emotional beings because we want to also have an opinion on it. I'm going a little on a
no, but it's it's a good point. And it's okay to it's okay to be emotional about your decisions. Okay, 100%. It is okay to be emotional about your decisions. Just don't let your emotions drive them. And be really conscious in especially in circumstances like this, be really conscious of, am I doing this because it's something that I want to do? Or am I doing this because the data says it's what's good for my business? It is okay. Yeah. We are by nature emotional beings. And I don't think we should try and change that, because emotions are absolutely, some of the best things that we can have. But we just have to be mindful how we let those emotions drive us and dictate where we go and how we navigate these situations, I think. Yeah.
And I think this is a great point in time to just like address society and address like your expertise from a bit of a different perspective. Again, use emotion, but don't sensationalize it.
Don't forget the human side, the human element. Yeah. I think, don't become so emotionless that you lose the human element, because more than ever, your customers need to feel seen and validated and understood. And if you can find the perfect balance between making them feel all of those things, but still, making those data-driven decisions, that's your sweet spot. Okay, let the data drive you, but don't forget your emotions. Absolutely not. I'm such an emotional person. You couldn't shut the emotions down if you tried. It's just about how you use those emotions strategically. That's where, don't try and suppress them, use them, but strategically.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that might be a good place to stop there. There is more that we can say on this. There are some strategies that we could talk about. So I don't know. Do you want to make that a second episode?
I think that would be a good idea. Yeah. I think because I think this is a natural place to stop.
Yeah. So just to summarize, I think, and everyone's going to roll their eyes, but essentially what we've talked about is absolutely focus on a very strong foundation / strategy, which is going to be more important than ever in an economic downturn or any kind of challenging period for your business. Don't make knee-jerk reactions. Don't let emotions drive your decisions. Really, really focus on your data. And just, be flexible, adaptable. Don't be so rigid. And
think about your clients, your audience.
It's client first, customer client first, all the time. It's about what serves them best, because if you can serve them, they will come. If you've got something they need, they will come. It brings me to just my closing thought. I was in Kmart. I'm in Kmart every day, guys, but I was in Kmart a little while ago in one of the Westfields, and it's not a Kmart that I've been to before. And at that point, I think it was around the time when people were saying we're going into a recession, and everyone was ramping it up, and it was being sensationalized. And the queue for Kmart was all around the barriers and halfway down the shop. People are still buying. People are still spending. They're just being more strategic as to where and on what. So you have to be strategic in making it clear to them why they should be spending on you, what the benefit to them is. They're still spending. They're just being more cautious as to where. So make sure you have a presence that tells them, and messaging that tells them that their caution is safe with you. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Kmart can do it.
Sounds good.
Okay, well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well. I should be allowed in Kmart unsupervised. Okay, that was a bit of a heavy topic. No one likes to talk about downturns and struggles in business and recessions. It is scary, and it is uncertain, and I definitely feel that uncertainty in myself and my business. And but it is also it's a natural and expected part of business. It's unavoidable. So the people that kind of are proactive in this and don't bury their heads in the sand and get prepared early are going to be the ones that not breeze through, but it will be a lot easier for us if we're prepared. And, like I say, don't bury our heads in the sand and just pretend it's not happening. That's not how we deal with these things. So hopefully this episode helped. Hopefully it gave some food for thought. And like I say, this is a topic I've lived through. I think you and I, we're the same age roughly, so I think we've probably lived through 3 recessions now. This will be next one.
Well, it's actually crazy because I was thinking what I was doing in 2007, 2008, and I was still like, that was when I was still studying. I was still in school.
These youngsters. They just don't know. But I mean, we've lived through. I don't know. I can personally say I lived through the one in the 80s. There was one in the 90s, and then there was one in the noughties, and now there's going to be one in the the 10s. The 10s were decent, and now there's going to be one in the 20s at some point potentially. Yeah. And the key message there is we live through them. We survive. We make it through. Whatever happens, we make it through.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I do feel like I've got some valuable insights into how I could help businesses navigate this. So if anyone does have any questions, if anyone does have any concerns about their own business, please reach out. I would love to chew your ear off about these kind of things, and help you put some strategies in place for your business to help you navigate what's potentially coming as well. So feel free to reach out. All of our contact details will be in the show notes. And that's my closing. Anything to add, Kim?
If you thought this episode was interesting, give
it a like.
Also let us know. Like us, follow us, share it wherever you are, whatever it's called. We really appreciate you guys. And if you do have questions, like Gayle says, put it in the comments. We'll try to answer it there or on our social media, or we'll create another episode about it, depending on how big the question is.
Yeah, for sure. Any questions that you have, send them through for sure. We'd love to hear them. We'd love to help. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for listening / watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.